very, very welcome to this webinar on how to master Microsoft 365 on the mobile. My name is Ulrika Hedlund. I'm the founder of Storyals. Storyals stands for story-based tutorials, and that's really what we do. We use storytelling to educate, but not just to educate, but also to inspire, motivate, and educate, because we all know that we need to change our behavior, and for that, we need a little push, a little nudge in the right direction. With me here today, I have a lot of my colleagues. So we have Julianne from the US. Julianne, you want to say a few words?
Well, welcome everyone. This is such a fantastic opportunity because I know all of these tools are amazing, but using them on your desktop versus on the mobile can sometimes be a little bit different. So I hope you get a lot out of this today.
I'll also spotlight Kate, who's also based in the US.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited that you could join us today, and I hope you're ready to learn something new.
Great. And we also have Lisbeth, not in the US, but in Paris, France.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, and I hope that you enjoy it. You're in for a treat.
Yeah, so with me today, I have lots of amazing productivity coaches. Okay, so with that, let us get started on the things that we're going to talk about today. Again, I think I will do a little bit of introduction because I see a lot of familiar faces. It's great to see you here, but we also have some new joiners, which is absolutely amazing. So I told you a little bit about Storyals and what we do. So again, we are here to help you train your end users on how to be really productive in the digital workplace. As we know, these tools are continuously updating, and we need to make sure that we focus on our employees and that they can be productive using these tools. What is our secret sauce, as some people ask? Well, for us, it really is the high quality training and our amazing productivity coaches. So we link digital, on-demand, online learning with training programs where we have great productivity coaches to lead you along the way. So that's a little bit about Storyals. What are we going to talk about today? Today, it's all about mastering Microsoft 365 on the mobile. And for those of you who know me, you know that I like to share using Whiteboard. So I will do that. I'm going to switch over to my whiteboard, and then we're also going to do a lot of demoing. So let's hope that the demo gods are with us today. So let's have a look here at what it is that you have to do to start out with using Microsoft 365 on the mobile. Well, first of all, of course, you need to have a license. And there are many different licenses depending on what type of a user you are. If you're a home user, you might have a personal license, a home license. But now, today, we're talking about corporations. So you should have a license by your corporation that enables you to log in with your company, your corporate account on a mobile device. And this will give you access to the full functionality of these applications on the mobile. Now, a lot of these applications work anyway, but only in read view only mode. So if you actually want to be productive and use them all effectively, you need to have a license for them. What's important to note here also is that Microsoft have different licenses depending on what type of a user you are. So if you, like me, are a user that use a lot of these productivity tools, both on my computer, my laptop, and my different devices, then it's good to have a license that enables you to use the full desktop applications. But about 80% of the workforce in organizations are what's so-called frontline workers, and they don't work in front of a computer. So for them, Microsoft have a different type of license, which is only for the so-called frontline workers. And they would only be using Microsoft 365 apps on a mobile device or using the web. So this is something that's important when we look at using Microsoft 365 on the mobile. There are different types of licenses, but in order to get the full functionality, then you need to have one of those. There's also actually a read-only mode for the mobile for some frontline workers that don't need to edit anything. They just need to view. So you need to have the license, of course. The other thing is when you look at the devices that people are using, a lot of organizations provide their employees with corporate devices, managed devices that they fully manage. Now, some, of course, look at the cost for buying devices and providing them to their employees. But there are a lot of business cases here to see how you can get a return on that investment through enhanced communication, enhanced business processes, etc. A lot of organizations are also allowing their employees to use their own devices. It's still extremely important that they can manage these devices using different tools to protect the data, but a lot of organizations are actually allowing their employees to bring their own device, use their own personal device. So I thought let's do a little poll right here and see from those of you who are here what types of mobile devices you use. Okay, so it's a little bit of mix, everything from using your own devices to company provided to both. So I think this is similar to what it looks like out there in different organizations. Now, having the devices, having the license is extremely important. But then, of course, we have to talk about governance, management, and security. The more flexibility that you provide to your end users and to your employees, you also need to make sure that you focus on security, that you enable such things as multi-factor authentication, and that you communicate the policies that apply. So this is extremely important. We recommend all of our customers to enable multi-factor authentication and to train users on how to use it. I know it can be a bit of a pain when you have to, log in, especially if you're using multiple accounts, but it is extremely important. So definitely enable multi-factor authentication and train your users on how it works. Okay, so with that said, because that's just everything that needs to be in place for us to be able to now use these tools and to be productive. So there are a lot of applications that you can use on the mobile. And before we dig into all of these, why don't we do another poll? And I want you to respond to which are the top applications that you use on the mobile during your workday. So it's a pretty close tie there between Teams and Outlook. If we had asked this a couple of years ago, I definitely think that the Outlook mobile app would have been the one that was just way on top. But definitely Teams has had a, not revolution, but it's like taking over the way that we communicate with one another. And absolutely, if we look at frontline users, we see that many organizations are only providing them with Teams and not even Outlook and email at all. So this is a huge shift in the way that we communicate and in the way that we work. Great, thank you for that. Okay, so now let's have a look at these different apps. So we did talk about Microsoft Teams. And like I said, this has really changed a lot of the way that we work. And personally, for me, it is also the app that I use the most. We don't want our users to have to download all these different apps for their digital workplace to work. And something that we're seeing more and more is that Microsoft are including more apps into the Teams platform itself. So Teams is really becoming a platform for various tools and various apps. So here you can see the apps that are part of Viva, the Viva suite. So Viva Goals, Viva Learning, Viva Connections, Viva Engage, which is the new brand also for Yammer. Those of you who have been using Yammer, which is an enterprise social application, almost like Facebook for the enterprise, where people can connect with one another. This is now being rebranded and put into Engage. And this means also that you don't have to have a separate app that you download, but you can access all of that, all of those communities and all of that communication directly from Teams. Now, I just took a few pictures. I'm going to demo all of this later, but I wanted to show a little bit of how that looks. So if you download the Teams application, you have a button here that says More. And this is where you would then access all of the Teams apps that you have available as part of Teams. And like I said, things like Viva Connections that enables you to connect your corporate intranets on SharePoint Online into the Teams application is, of course, extremely important for corporate communications. You also then have Viva Engage that I talked about, where you can connect different communities directly from within the Teams application. We also had applications like, of course, LMS 365. That's a great app for a learning management platform, and other applications that you have here. You have one called Task. This one actually brings together two different applications that we will talk about. One is called To Do, and one is called Planner. So if you don't want to install and use those two separate apps on your mobile, you could actually access those tasks directly from within Teams. So again, this is important to know if you have a workforce and you're providing the Microsoft 365 tools to users, frontline workers, that you don't want to, overwhelm with too many applications. Give them the Teams app, and then you enable a few of these. As a administrator, Teams administrator, you can decide which of these should be visible, and you can also change the order for how they should be placed on users' mobile. And of course, as an end user, you can reorder these applications yourself as well. So that was a little bit about Teams and the Viva apps that are included. Or not included, the apps are included, and some of them you can get limited functionality with your Microsoft standard 365 license. But in order to get the full functionality, you would need to have a Viva suite license or individual Viva app licenses. Okay, so the number 2 application was Microsoft Outlook. I always encourage organizations to promote this for their employees. And this can sometimes be a little bit tough because many users use their normal native mail application that comes with iOS and Android. There are so many benefits when you work to use the Outlook mobile app. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to demonstrate a lot of the benefits of using Outlook. But in addition to it, being secure, you also have easier access to the different applications and the information in your digital workplace. So it's easier for you to work with files, to share things, to tag things for follow-up, etc. If we're going around the circle, we have the To-Do app, OneNote, OneDrive, SharePoint, Stream, Bookings, Office Lens, Whiteboard, List, Planner. And in the middle here, we have the Microsoft 365 app. This was recently rebranded. I think Microsoft's marketing team, they must have a lot of creative ideas because they're constantly coming up with new names and new brands. So the Microsoft Office app has been rebranded and it's now called the Microsoft 365 app. And as part of this app, you have Excel, Word, PowerPoint, and Forms, and a lot of additional tools that you can use that I will show you. So the benefit here is that instead of having to download and install all of these separate applications, you can just download the Microsoft 365 app. Now, some of you might ask, well, what happened with, I know there was a Delve mobile app and there was a Sway mobile app. There were, but both of these have been discontinued by Microsoft. And so these mobile apps are no longer available. But all the other apps that you see here are available to download on the mobile. And logging in with your corporate account, you can get the full access to these applications. Okay, so I think what we will do then is that we will actually go in and I will demonstrate the top ones here, the ones that you want to see. Now, you won't be able to see where I click when I click. So if it's not easy, just ask me and I will try to go a little bit slower and show you step by step where I am clicking. Maybe it would help if I do this, if I show it at the same time. So the first application that I wanted us to go through a little bit is the Microsoft Outlook app, the one up here. Now, this application enables you to add multiple accounts, multiple work accounts, as well as personal accounts if you have. So if you're using your own personal device, I warmly recommend if you press the little house in the top left corner, here you can see all of the accounts that have been added to Outlook. And here you can see that I have 2 accounts. Now, there's an option to see all of the email in one single view. You can also choose to see them one by one. So if I click the first office icon here, you can see that now I'm only seeing my email from ulrika@storyals.net. If I click the Outlook button, I only see the email from Ulrika.Hedlund.live, my personal email. So this is optional. Either you just choose to see, all of them in one single view, or you can separate to see them one by one. But you can add multiple accounts here. Okay, so that's number one. Now, if we look then at the settings, so if you go into the settings, there are what's called storage accounts. So this helps you to connect with files and other file storage that you're using. And you can put your default, which is your default email account. Now, something that was developed by the Outlook mobile team is this view called the focused inbox. And this is for you to help focus on your most important email. So if we go back to our email, you can see that we have at the top, there's focused. And then if I click other, I can see everything else that's not as important. So if I click on focused, I can focus on the most important email. This view is actually also available on Outlook on the web and the Outlook desktop application. But you can choose by going into your settings if you want this to be turned on or off. Yes, Joanne, I can see that you have a question there.
How do you determine, or does the system determine what needs to be in your focus?
Great question. Yes. So here again, we have this famous, data and artificial intelligence that it looks like your behavior. So it actually looks at how you use your inbox and how you read your email. But there is a way for you also to choose. So if you're not happy with how with an email, if it's been put into your not into your other folder, you can choose to move to focused inbox. Okay. And once you've done it once, in the future, it will continue to put those into the focused inbox. But I do recommend that you have this focus filter on because it really does help you focus on your most important email. The other one, though, that I actually personally don't like to have enabled, it's this one that's called Organize by Thread. This is something that groups your email by conversation. Now, on my computer, I like to have it grouped by conversation because it's very easy to see what messages that belong together. But on my mobile, I actually prefer to see them one by one, the time that they came. But this again is a personal preference, so you can turn this on and off and you can see, how it looks. But something that's also really good with the Outlook app, you can see that it puts the time. So let me go to my focus. So today, if it came today, I get the time, 12:09. If it was earlier, I get the date. If it was, I would get, Monday or Tuesday. So it really helps you to see, when the email arrived.
Another quick question, Ulrika, was
Yeah.
do you recommend having the apps automatically update?
Yes, always. And this is also a security perspective. So you should have your operating system always up to date. You should have your apps always up to date, always the latest version. Great question. So the other setting that we can look at that is important if you're using Outlook on your mobile is if I go to the settings and I choose my default account, there's an option here that's called Save Contacts. This should be on if you want to use the contacts in Outlook in your phone book so that you can call them easily, and it updates if you make changes to your Outlook contacts. So this will actually enable you to use the phone book with your phone. So that's also an important setting to look at. Another thing, and this depends again where you are in the world, but there's something here called Play My Emails. Now, if you have to turn this on for your various accounts, but this actually enables you to have Outlook read email for you, and you can dictate email, which is really great if you're not able to use the phone with your hands and it's hard to, type with small fingers. So what you can do then is that you can go and press this play button, and now it will play the email for me. And I can use my voice to say if I want to archive, if I want to delete, if I want, I don't share audio here, so it's not going to share. And I can also dictate, so I can say new email to, and who's to, and then, hi, exclamation mark. You feel a little bit stupid when you're dictating messages, but and this is something that I believe more and more people, depending on their role, can be extremely useful. So that's a little bit about the settings and things that I think are important. Let's have a look at managing your email. And again, everything that you have on your Outlook on the mobile, you also have in the web and on the Outlook desktop application. So I guess a lot of things that you do is that you delete email. So if you want to just, mark one email, you can read it, and then you could use the little icons in the top right corner, archive or delete. But you also, or of course, reply to the email. So you can choose reply or reply all or forward. If you do reply all, I always recommend that you look at this, that you view the recipients so you can actually see who is the email being sent to. Mm-hmm. You have more options here if you click the three dots at the very top. So here you can do more things with this email. You can flag it for follow-up, you can pin it to the top, and you can create a task. So this actually creates a task in To Do, and it takes the subject of the email. So this is something that's a good and quick way to track your email manually like this in Outlook. Now, an even quicker way to manage your email is by just swiping. Now, I'm married, so I'm not on Tinder, but I've heard that this is the way that it works, right? You swipe left or you swipe right. So you can do the same thing with your email. So if I swipe, I'll take the Liam person email and I'll swipe to the left. And now this gets archived. I have an email from Jody that I want to follow up on. So I will swipe this to the right. Now you can see here that when I swiped it to the right, it got flagged. But you actually decide what you want to happen when you swipe to the right. So if you never swiped right before, Outlook is going to ask you, how do you want to swipe? But otherwise, you can go into your settings and And I always get confused here if it's in each account or if it's directly in the settings. Now here we have it, swipe options. What happens when I swipe to the right? So here I have that I want to flag it, unflag it. But you could also do something with it. You could pin it, unpin it, snooze it. Snoozing an email means that it gets moved out of the inbox into a separate folder, your snooze folder. And then if you don't action it, if you don't move it from there, it reappears in your inbox. Personally, I don't recommend this because I don't recommend snoozing anything. You should action things right away. But I do know a lot of people that like snoozing. So here you have the swiping options as well. I think, we have some other power tips here that might be good. So say, for instance, that you have an email with a person that wants to know about your availability. They might want to set up an email. So you could do reply to this email. And if you see the first icon there to the left, you have a calendar icon. So here you can choose to send your availability. So I can see, yes, tomorrow I have time. I could do 9 or 9. Yeah, and I can do here. I can do all of these time slots. And then I can check the little check mark. And I'm available from 9 to 11. Now, Outlook does not block your calendar. So you need to remember if you've shared this availability with other people or not. But this is really, a really good power tip to use. The other one, remember, Elizabeth, that you asked me to share last time, is the calendar. Now, the calendar in Outlook, you have, different views. Here I'm just looking at it as an agenda view. I can choose to have it as a day view or a 3-day view. So this is also a personal preference, how you want to see your calendar. But sometimes if you're out on the road and you want to look up your coworkers or someone else's calendar, you could also do that through the Outlook mobile. So if you click the calendar, you see here how you have the option to add an account and add a shared calendar. So I can add if someone else has shared their calendar. So I can add Lisbeth's calendar here. And you can see that Lisbeth's calendar has now been marked with a green color. You could actually see both of them at once. Now this is, maybe you didn't have anything in your calendar here, I'm not sure. But you can also select just to see one person's calendar. Yeah, it's a bit boring, Lisbeth. Your demo calendar is empty. But anyway, you can see these side by side overlapped with different colors. Just make sure that you go back and have your own calendar marked when you go back. Otherwise, you think that you have a full day and you do not. So that's a little bit about the calendar. Any questions on Outlook on the mobile? Yes, Joanne.
You mentioned that you're able to add a task from an email.
Mm-hmm.
Will you get into how that works? Like, because say I have 8 different teams that I'm responsible for. How do I know where that task is going to go if I do it from my email?
Okay, perfect. Yes. So, and this gets us into the different applications that we use for different tasks. So first of all, if you want to add something as a task here to create a task, it goes into the app that's called To Do. So let's move over to Microsoft To Do. So up on the right, you can see Microsoft To Do. And I love this app. I really, really love this app. This is a way for you to keep track. So actually, I'm going to start here. So it helps you to organize and keep track of all of the things that that you should do. But you should think of it as your own task, right? So the viewpoint is that it's the things that you need to get done. So the task list is the main task list. And you can see this is where the email follow-up ended up, the meeting follow-up message that I tracked for follow-up through Outlook. So it gets added here. So one of the problems with task lists is that they get so long and you kind of get overwhelmed with all of the things that you have not done and you lose motivation. And this is where to do is so great because every day you start with something called my day. And just look at that. It's like the beach. It's like beautiful view. Now I've already completed 2 things today because it's in my evening. But normally when you start every day, this is just a clean slate. You start fresh and it's just, it feels really good. So what you can do is you can add things directly to your day. So I need to pay some bills here. Okay, I can just add that and it gets added directly to my day, but you can see it's actually added to the task list that's called tasks. What I can also do is if I click the little light bulb up at the top, here I can see suggestions for things that are in my other task lists that I might want to add to my day. So I can see actually, yes, I need to record audio today. Oh, and I need the permits for my visit. So I'm going to add these to my day. But if I don't complete them today, they're still on my task list. But tomorrow I will again start with a fresh slate and a clean my day view. There are a few settings that you should be aware of here. So for instance, if I click my profile picture, I can see other applications that have been assigned or that have been linked here. So there actually is a default setting that all of the email that you flag in Outlook should automatically be added to do. And again, this is a personal preference if you prefer to have those there or not. There's also another app called Planner. So by default, Planner is for joint task boards and To Do is for your own personal to-dos. Now, with that said, there's always, a side twist because you actually can share lists. So if I have this list here for professional development, and if I wanted to share that with someone, I actually can. So I can share it with someone else if someone said, oh, could you just share me that list that you have? That's really good. So you can share this with other people. But otherwise, I do recommend think of To Do as your own personal to-dos and use Planner instead for task boards that you share with a group and with a team. Now, like I said, both To Do and Planner, all of the things that you add there, you can also see through Teams. This goes both on the mobile, but also in the web and on the desktop version of Teams. So let's just have a look at that. I can open up Planner and I will open up our marketing plan for 2023. So I can see here we work, instead of working with lists in Planner, you work with different buckets. So I have one bucket here called events. I have another one with social media and websites. I can choose to group by, for instance, assigned to. So then I can see all of the things that have been, given to me, Felicia, Harir, etc. So you can slice and dice these tasks in different ways. So let's say that I add, let's see, these tasks that you have here, they are also visible in Teams. So let's look at one here. We had the customer case study. Okay. Actually, let's look at something that's been assigned to me here, video blog. Okay. Now, if I go into Microsoft Teams to get there without going here. Okay. And I click more options and you can see that I have an app called Tasks. Okay. It's actually tasks by To Do and by Planner. So here you can see the shared plans and you can see the tasks. So if I go to the task, you see here I had the call Stina, pay my bills, do the permit. So I can say I've done that. Yes, complete. Perfect. And I did call Stina. Yes, complete. And same thing with, can see the shared plans that we have, the team tasks here. Actually, I should look, it was the marketing task, I think, the marketing team. And the marketing plan. So here I have the other tasks that have been assigned. So it's a way to see everything in one, all of the things that have been assigned to you, but also tasks that other people have, so you can see what's going on. So I've also, before we get too far into some of these other apps, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Microsoft 365 app. So like I said, you don't have to download Word, Excel, PowerPoint, all of that on your mobile device. It's enough to just download the Microsoft 365 app. Now, like I said, most of these applications enable you to log in with duplicate accounts. So you could have your personal account and you could have your work account. Again, if you have a corporate device, you should only use it for your corporate accounts. But if you're using a personal device, sometimes you need to switch in between. Now, I have to say that the Microsoft 365 app, here I recommend that you only use your corporate account because it can get a bit confusing because you will see everything blended. You will see all of the documents kind of together and it's hard, so it can get a bit mixed up. So I recommend that you use your corporate account and that you make sure that the storage account that's being used, that all of these are the company accounts or cloud storage options. So here, if I click create, I can create a Word document, Excel, I can create a PDF. I can create a form using Microsoft Forms. I can create a voice note. So there's so many things that I can do. I can also use the scan button, which is great if I want to scan, for instance, a receipt. So I can capture that and save that, for instance. And you can see it finds the corners of the receipt. Okay, I'm going to go back, discard that image. And it then gets uploaded to the cloud if you have your cloud storage there as OneDrive. Other apps that you have here, if you click apps, and you can see what you can do. So for instance, you can sign a PDF with your finger. It doesn't look great, but sometimes, it's good. I had one of those things I needed one of our colleagues to sign. I'm like, okay, just sign with your finger. It's perfect. Another one here, you can convert image to text. So say that you're out and about. I had this, we had, it was in an event and they had a paper document with names that we need to digitize. So it's like, oh, you know what? You can take that image and convert it into a table in Excel. And all of a sudden you have it in Excel and you can actually analyze it and you can do things with it. So really powerful tools when you need to convert paper-based documents into digital. Yes, Lisbeth, you had a comment there.
Now, I was just going to say, I fully agree with you. It's a very powerful tool.
And I think many times we don't think about when we use the tools in Microsoft, we're so good with our laptop, but sometimes there's even more advantages when you're on the go and when you're using your mobile. I know, Lisbeth, that you like this rehearse with a coach preview. So this actually is a virtual coach where you can do a presentation in PowerPoint. You talk to the presentation and it gives you like a scoring. So it tells you spoke too fast, you spoke too slow, you used too many fill out words that I always do. So yes, if you're brave, you can go through the rehearse with a coach. Elizabeth.
I also use it when sometimes if somebody gives me a business card, I scan the business card and then I can forward the business card either in OneNote or it creates a V card in Outlook.
Absolutely. So that's for multiple. So let's see if we have it here. Oh, actually, did we have it here? was looking for the document. This is a good point. We had this question in the previous session as well in terms of scanning. And so we have an application that's called here. It's called it's called Microsoft Lens. Okay. It used to be called Office Lens, but now it's called Microsoft Lens. So this one is that scanner. You can scan something, a business card, you can scan a document and turn it into a PDF. But Microsoft are adding a lot of this technology and a lot of this functionality into the other apps. So you have it both in the Microsoft 365 app. You also have it in Teams when you want to upload a photo, and you have it in OneDrive. So even though I still like the Microsoft Lens application, the use case of it goes, is a little bit less. Oh, and you of course also have it in OneNote that you can scan and put it directly into the your notepad. Go here to the final. I wanted to show a little bit and talk a little bit about OneDrive as well. So let me just go to that as well. Share. And if you're wondering what I'm using to share, I'm just using Microsoft Teams. So I've just used I'm using Teams on my mobile and I'm joining from here, which enables me to share my screen from my mobile. So I wanted to talk about the OneDrive application because this one is extremely useful for accessing all of your documents, whether they're stored in OneDrive or in SharePoint. So Joanne, going back to your question there, do I need to use the SharePoint app for accessing documents? No, you don't. So here in the OneDrive application, the switching between accounts is actually really good, and the full view becomes either your personal or your work account. So here, for instance, if I switch to my personal view, you can see that all of my files here are my personal files, and I don't see anything else. If I switch and I go to my Storyals account, all of the files and everything that I see here are only related to work. So this one is very, it's easy to switch in between. But it's not just my documents from OneDrive, my OneDrive account. If I click Libraries down in the bottom right corner, I can also access my SharePoint document libraries. Also meaning that if I'm working in Microsoft Teams, since the documents are then stored either in SharePoint or in OneDrive, I can access them from here as well. So here I can go into my marketing team and I can access all of my SharePoint documents directly from OneDrive. One important setting for the OneDrive application, if you are using your own personal account, also for work, is for camera upload. So if I go home here and I click my profile picture and I go into the settings, you will see that I have an option for camera upload. Now this means that OneDrive will automatically upload all of the pictures, the photos that you take on your mobile to the cloud. And this is amazing in terms of backup and always being able to access all of your photos from anywhere. But you want to make sure that you upload the right photos to the right place. So if you have a personal phone with pictures of your kids and dogs and whatnot, make sure that you turn on the OneDrive camera upload to the right account. Okay, so but for here, I'm just going to turn it off. So you don't want to upload pictures anywhere else. But again, this is really good if you're using a corporate device for work. You're out, you're doing, you're taking pictures of, it could be your carpentry or landscaping or whatever it is. You just take all of the pictures with your mobile and it automatically uploads to OneDrive in the cloud and you have access to them from anywhere. So absolutely amazing application. And of course, I'll have to end with OneNote, one of my personal favorites. And again, going back to what Lisbeth talked about before, here it is so easy to, let's create a page here. And maybe I'll just, I have this receipt. So I click on the camera and then I take a picture. And now I can choose, is it a photo? Is it a document? Is it a whiteboard? What is it? This is the document. And again, I just take the picture and it just adds it. And now it's done. Now, the beautiful thing is that everything that's said here, the text is now searchable. So I can go back and I can use the search here and I can search for anything, going back in time. And this really helps when you digitize information. You can search, from years back, and you can digitize a lot of manuals and a lot of books and have them with you wherever you go. This Beth.
I also use the sticky notes as well. They're kind of like Post-it notes. So whenever I need to write down, like an idea or whatever, I can use the sticky notes, and they're kind of like virtual Post-it notes.
Perfect. So down here on the bottom right, you can see the sticky notes. So you have sticky notes here, and that's also great tip. And you also have in the Microsoft 365, you have also like quick notes here. So these things are, of course, extremely useful when you're out on the go. You need to, note something down, and you need to quickly capture something. Now, I personally don't use Whiteboard and SharePoint that much or at all on my phone, but I do use them on my iPad. So again, different mobile apps depending on your situation and what you do and what device you're using. These are the courses that we've provided, that we've just produced for so-called frontline workers. Basically, people that only use mobile devices for everything, and the web. They might access all of their tools on a web, through a browser, but they do not have computers with the desktop applications on them. We, of course, have courses for what we call office workers as well. And if you have Storyals, you would have access to all of this. So a little bit about the next steps. Get to know the Microsoft 365 apps on your mobile. They are super powerful and there's so much that you can do. Train your users on how to use these tools. It doesn't come by default. Just because you give them the tools, it doesn't mean that they know how to use them in the work environment and to be efficient. So we're here and we're happy to help. And of course, unleash the power of your workforce, and especially the ones that are on the go. So thank you so much for your time today.